Hey guys, this is Sam with Geek, and today I'm going to rant about something that is completely idiotic. And it's people who whine about downloadable content without understanding a single fucking thing about it. Alright, first let's address the people who still live on nostalgia and like to cling on to the past. Alright, we're going to look at video games in the 1980s and then video games now. Video games in the 1980s costed $90 to $120 a pop. They usually were 5 to 6 hours long, and not to mention came on cartridges, and that was the 1980s. This is video games now. They're $60. They have an average of 9 to 12 hours, and they cost way more money to make. In the 1980s, it would be rare for a game development to cost $1 million. It would be rare. Now, they cost the average is $50 to $60 million to make a video game. So, seems like a lot of things are different. Looks like you get more bang for your buck now, even though you don't want to admit it. Alright. Now let's address downloadable content. People think that downloadable content is the developer's way of being evil bastards and reaching into your wallet and pulling out money. First off, downloadable content is optional. You don't have to fucking buy it at all. It's your choice if you want to buy downloadable content or not. It is not mandatory, and you don't need to buy it. How many times do I have to fucking say this? Every single time I see someone bitch about downloadable content, you don't need to fucking buy it. And as long as it isn't an annoyance, like World at War, I'm totally fucking fine with it. I've never bought a map pack for a video game ever. Alright. Now, let's address people whining and bitching because developers actually plan out downloadable content before a game comes out. Why would they do that? People forget Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 is an example of this holy thing that you want about game developers developing downloadable content after the game is released. Unfortunately, it wasn't built into the game's fucking engine to accept said downloadable content because they didn't plan it beforehand. Pro tip, you want developers to if they're going to make downloadable content for the game, to come up with it beforehand, or else the downloadable content is going to run like motherfucking shit. Look at all the problems with Fallout downloadable content, Mass Effect 1 downloadable content. Why? Because it wasn't built into the game properly to run this downloadable content beforehand. The reason being? Because it wasn't in the code. You're going to want to plan this shit beforehand so it actually works with all the requirements said place with your game save. You want a corrupt saved file? Would that make you happier? Mr. The evil corporate companies are reaching into my pocket and nickeling and diming me. Really? Really? Come on. Now, let's also look at the idiots who believe that game companies are greedy. No, you assholes are the ones that are greedy. Gamers are the most cynical purchasers on the face of the planet. No other medium has to deal with as much piracy, used game market, and the used market and everything else as we do, because our purchases are ridiculous. A lot of people complain that they already paid $60. But the truth is, the majority of people do not pay $60 for a video game. Used games market sales are through the roof, and GameStop purposely makes their games $5 less expensive than the retail game to get a quick buck. A lot of people do want to save $5 in order to buy a used game instead of a new one. And this is the truth. People don't have value in new. They really don't. They think that they would rather save $5. Those $55 games at GameStop, you may think it's outrageous, but those games sell a shitload. Oh, also, game developers are so greedy. Do you know how much is put into an average video game nowadays? 1 million copies is not enough to offset the cost of making any medium to high budget video game. 1 million sales will not cut it at all. Yeah, and most games don't sell 1 million copies. Darksiders didn't make the money back. Splinter Cell Conviction didn't even come close to making the money they spent on that game. All these games did not make nearly enough money. And that's because they have to pay the console manufacturer to get licensing to put it on their system. They have to pay the retailer. They have to pay the shipping plant. They have to pay, factory costs. This is all that goes into the game. So what do game developers do now to offset this payment, since video gamers don't really buy their games? They have to release downloadable content because the game has now become a platform. They have to give you incentive to keep your fucking video game and not selling it back to GameStop so you can buy another game. You see, the issue with video gamers nowadays is that you buy so many used games, and it's ridiculous how much used games sell. You buy so many used games that they don't make any money. So they have to give you incentive to keep your games so that there are less used games on the market and you'll want to keep your games. Because studies have been shown that people will not sell their games if they have bought downloadable content for them. Modern Warfare 2 is the perfect example of how things are changing and that people will actually want to keep their games instead of buying new games. Last month in April, video games sold like fucking shit. But what didn't sell like shit? Microsoft points. What came out in April? The stimulus package for Modern Warfare 2. What did the stimulus package do? It was the widest sold piece of downloadable content on the Xbox Live Marketplace to date. Huh. Looks like you're in the minority, Mr. Whiner. And guess what? This is the way games are going to go. Because games are going to become platforms rather than just, distributive technology. You're not going to this is not going to be the whole game. And you're just going to have to fucking wake up and realize this. Because they don't make money on these anymore. Just like console manufacturers don't make a dime on their motherfucking consoles, they make money on accessories and games and software. This is the way it's going to go because of people like you. People who buy used video games, people who buy their games for under $60. This is what's going to happen. Because people can't cough up $60, which is the main problem in the first place. Now, there are a few people that do cough up $60, and yes, it can be a little bit, of a ripoff, it feels like it, but video games cost so much to make nowadays that they have to do this. And if you really want to go back to the 1980s and play 3-hour games for $90 a pop, be my guest. I don't want to go back to the 1980s. Samuel out.